Good evening, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome to today's webinar, Quantitative Finance Career Pathways, Skills that Differentiate You, brought to you by IIM Ahmedabad and VCNow. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. As finance becomes increasingly data-driven, organizations are looking for professionals who can do much more than interpret numbers. They are seeking individuals who can combine analytical thinking, quantitative techniques, programming skills, and risk assessment capabilities to solve complex business and financial challenges. This shift has created exciting opportunities across areas such as quantitative trading, risk management, financial modeling, investment analytics, and fintech. At the same time, one question remains common among aspiring professionals and working executives alike. What skills truly differentiate successful quantitative finance professionals, and how can you build a rewarding career in this space? To help answer these very pertinent questions, we are delighted to be joined by two distinguished faculty members from IIM Ahmedabad this evening. Our first speaker, Professor Vineet Virmani, is an associate professor in the finance and accounting area at IIM Ahmedabad. He holds a doctorate in economics from IIM Ahmedabad, as well as a degree in mechanical engineering from IIT BHU. His research and teaching interests span derivative pricing, fixed income securities, risk management, and volatility modeling. Through his research and academic contributions, Professor Virmani has developed deep expertise in the quantitative aspects of finance, making him exceptionally well positioned to share insights on the evolving landscape of quantitative finance careers. Joining him, we have Professor Anirban Banerjee, Assistant Professor in the Finance and Accounting area at IIM Ahmedabad. Professor Banerjee has earned his PhD in Finance from IIM Calcutta and holds a bachelor's degree in Electrical Engineering from Jadavpur University, Calcutta. His research focuses on marketing microstructure with particular expertise in algorithmic and high-frequency trading. His work sits at the intersection of finance, technology, and data-driven decision-making, bringing valuable perspectives on how quantitative methods are transforming the financial services industry. During today's session, our speakers will discuss the evolving landscape of quantitative finance careers, the skills that employers value the most, and the pathways professionals can pursue to build a successful career in this domain. We will also be sharing insights into IIM Ahmedabad's advanced program in quantitative finance and risk management and how it is helping develop the next generation of quantitative finance professionals in India. Before we begin, a quick note for our audience. We will be hosting a live Q&A session at the end of our webinar today. We also encourage you to share your questions in the chat box throughout the session, and we will take up as many of them as the time permits us. With that, it is my genuine pleasure to welcome Professor Vineet Virmani and Professor Anirban Banerjee. Over to you, professors.
All right. Right. So what we'll do is we'll give you some sense of IMA and what IMA does in the field of finance and finance research, what kind of courses we offer in related fields at IMA, to give a sense of broadly what will get covered in the curriculum. And then we'll also specifically talk about the modules that are there in this program and particular content that get covered in the program. So many of you would know that IMA is one of the oldest management schools in the country, along with IIM Calcutta. It was one of the first management schools to begin in the country. But not many would know that IMA began its life, executive education, training managers in practice. Our 2-year MBA program, which over time we have become much more well known for, was a much later thing that to start off. But to begin with, IMA's main founding vision was that IMA support and train managers and contribute to the field of practice, and that we have been keep on doing. We have been doing so many years successfully, but over time we also launched formal MBA programs, including our 2-year MBA and then over time PhD program that both of us are in some sense alumni of at IIM Calcutta and IIM Ahmedabad. And we also are privileged and benefited a lot from hand-holding by Harvard Business School to begin with. IIM also has had lot of contribution in Gujarat state, with societies contributing, including Government of India's own initiatives and state of Gujarat. A lot of land where IMA sits is also partly given by different trusts and philanthropic organizations. So, but IMA has also over time worked closely with them and given back to society in its own way. But IMA is in the best spirit of things was a public-private partnership, and over time, IMA has had quite a role to play in terms of contributing to the field of management practice and over time also in academia. Now, for those who end up joining this program, we'll see when they come to IMA that we have one of the largest campus for a business school in the country. Like, if you look at the per capita space that is available, I think it's probably one of the largest in the country. I think only IIM Calcutta and IIM Bangalore comes close. And we also have almost all faculty who teach at IMA, including in this program, are residential, meaning that they stay on campus like with students. So unlike many other schools, faculty at IMA are seen interacting with students even late in the night. That is possible because most of us stay on campus. And we have a very large campus where all PhD students also, for the most part, stay on campus. We also have been lucky because we were one of the earliest IIMs to start. We also have a large alumni base. One of the things that a participant benefits from by joining a program like this, it gives you a very long way in terms of being an alumni of the program. Not just by doing this program, the addition with some other program, one gets very close to becoming an IIM alumni and get a benefit of being in the same network as a lot of IIM alumni across different programs. And that I think is one of the strongest part of being a part of IMA family, that one can reach out to many other friends than just being who are they in the program to begin with. As I said earlier, IMA also has been very active in research, even more so in the last decade. And this again, some of you may not know that IMA is the leader in management research in India. Almost more than half of top publications in the country in management come from IMA faculty alone, particularly in the last couple of decades. And so beyond executive education in a program like this and doing formal MBA training, we also quite active in management research across all disciplines, not just in finance and economics and operational research and so on, but across all disciplines, including human resources, marketing, again, which is not so relevant for our kind of program, but just to illustrate the fact that I'm a faculty at the bleeding edge of both technology as well as research and management, and even more so in finance and accounting. In fact, probably we have one of the largest department of finance and accounting across all IIMs in the country. I talked about our 2-year MBA program, but we also have many other programs that were launched over the years to cater the needs of the industry. One of the first functional programs we launched was the program in food and agribusiness management, which is currently the world's topmost program in that field of agribusiness management. In early 2000s, we began a 1-year full-time residential program called PGPX. And over time, we have launched many other programs which are partly online or partly blended. I think just a couple of years ago, IMA also began its 2-year MBA program, which is blended, which is partly online and partly physical. And again, as the need for analytics grows, we also have many other programs dedicated just to the field of analytics. And this program, in some sense, belongs to that subset of programs which are somewhat more technical, requiring mathematical abilities and some facility with technology and programming. But this is not the only program. We have many other, some longer and shorter programs dedicated to the field of analytics and quantitative methods applied to different parts of management, be it marketing, finance, and even HR, I think. And because of that, our interaction with the real world and the world of practice is pretty strong and active. We end up training more than 5,000 executives every year, and that's probably an underestimate. In the last couple of years, that number has gone up significantly higher thanks to online training and online infrastructure that we have built post COVID-19. So today, perhaps this number is a bit dated. This is just a physical interaction that people come to IMA, but if we count the people who join IMA programs virtually, that number is significantly larger. And this program, APQFRM, is in the same spirit that we want to reach out to more professionals working in the field of quantitative finance and risk management. I needn't talk too much about the faculty. As I already mentioned, they're quite active in research and on consulting, and you can learn more about the faculty's achievements and rewards on our IME website. But needless to say, we are quite lucky to have and fortunate to have some of the best faculty in their respective fields in the country. This is just not about bragging; it is backed by just achievements in practice. And many of our faculty members are also members of high-level committees, both at SEBI as well as RBI, and they contribute both in their behind-the-scenes role, but also sometimes on the newspaper media that some of you may have noticed once in a while. In terms of, as I said earlier, to give a sense of what makes us capable to this program is our experience with doing related courses for 2-year and 1-year MBA students. And only then we thought we are now in a space that we've got enough experience and in terms of teaching related courses that we thought we can reach out to the larger world and offer something similar in a blended program for people who are interested, particularly those with good mathematical abilities, either working in those fields or just finishing their education and just entering the job market in the field of either machine learning or quantitative finance or data analytics role. So just a bunch of courses that are connected with the program. Both of us have taught in some of those courses, and we have other colleagues also who teach such courses. This is not only both of our courses, but this is partly both of us do these courses, partly some of our colleagues do courses. So most importantly, I think all these courses are relevant. Perhaps maybe not as much fixed income securities and banking services. But those are somewhat more perspective courses. But by and large, everything else in this slide that you see, be derivatives, computational finance, structured product, risk management, stochastic calculus, all of that gets covered in this program. Of course, we have somewhat limited time. 6 months is not near enough to do full justice to all the topics that are talked about in this slide. But we try to get the essence of that a typical professional who is in early career, mid career, or even sometimes later career would benefit from. But and we provide in some sense a springboard or launching pad with all the basics covered, and then one goes from there and one can specialize in any field that one is interested in. This is again a continuing set. These courses that you see in this slide are more about data analytics and machine learning, and I think there is one course repeated on computational finance. But so the previous slide were about quantitative finance courses. This slide is about courses which are more data and analytics based, and I think that's why the course is repeated. So computational finance sits at the middle ground of both quantitative finance as well as programming and data, and that's why I think it is not a repetition. Perhaps it's just that course belongs in both the spaces. But we also have courses at IMA which are not just about mathematical background and foundations for quantitative finance, but also in terms of a purely database application. And of late, of course, as many of you would know, that artificial intelligence and machine learning has also become a big part of that training. But from what we learn, talking to practitioners, there's no change in job market for professionals in this field. If anything, there's more need for people who are interested to work in this area, because even to make sense of what ChatGPT or cloud and Anthropic cloud throws up, one needs to understand the basics. And there's a lot of interest and demand to have more people who understand the basics, because now banks can do more with the help of AI tools. So especially in this field, where speed often is not a big issue, one benefits from knowing the foundation very, very well and mathematical technicalities very, very well. So to even make sense of what something like a AI tool is throwing up, one needs reasonably strong background that goes beyond often what is covered in engineering colleges. So both of us are engineers, as was mentioned in the beginning in my introduction. But even both of us had to learn and relearn many of mathematical methods, because many of the engineering college methods do not directly translate to direct applications in quantitative finance and risk management. One needs to learn a few different things, in particularly in stochastic calculus, which is not often taught in most undergrad programs in engineering. So there is a value to be added, even for those, some of you may be engineers already. There is a lot of value to be added in the sense of going beyond what you already know in terms of your advanced calculus and so on, and to learn new techniques which are based on the similar basics, but there is something to be learned there when it comes to applications in quantitative finance and risk management. And that's probably what we want to do, what we want to achieve. People who are capable and interested, give them the necessary toolkit to go beyond what they already know and provide a launch pad. We also have significant funding available. We also have many centers which help IMA research, probably not as much relevant to the participants in this program, to the extent some of you may end up joining. But at least at IMA faculty, we benefit from a lot of funding coming to us via research centers being established with a collaboration between IMA and some donors, and three of them are Britisas and Mishra Center and Mattu. Couple of them are alumni of IMA who ended up working in the financial services industry, did quite well for themselves, and they have given back to IMA by providing endowment and donation for setting up centers which require access to data and technology. And we also have some centers for high performance computing. I guess you will probably not benefit as much out of these centers unless when you come to IMA, of course, we can learn more about these centers. But these centers again illustrate how heavily IMA is involved in research in financial markets and pricing of securities, and even in the field of data science and intelligence. It's like there's one more center which is yet to be announced, which is on AI, which I guess will get announced publicly very soon. We got a massive endowment from one of our alumni based in New York, and she has contributed a significant amount, and that announcement is going to come very soon, which is a center just on artificial intelligence research and training. And that again, we have not put that over here, but that again is part in work in progress. It's almost being in the process of being set up. Now I'll pass it on to my colleague who will tell you more about the program design.
So now that we have some understanding of IMA's competence regarding offering programs in this particular domain, we'd like to spend a little time talking about the program design for this particular course on APQFRM, Advanced Program in Quantitative Finance and Risk Management. So this course is basically split into three different modules. So module one is building blocks, where we talk about the basic maths of it. We talk about, so within maths, we talk about calculus, we talk about probability theory, we talk about stochastic process, which is required for quantitative finance. We also significantly devote time towards improving our understanding of the basic finance required for this particular course. So we talk about financial markets, product institutions that are there. Where does financial derivatives sit in this particular space? We introduce derivative product, the most simple ones. So forwards, futures, options. So principles within these products, there are different ways we can talk about pricing of these. So we talk about some of the principles that are used often for pricing of these derivative contracts. So we talk about principles of no arbitrage, pricing forwards and futures contracts. We start with the simpler sort of a model of option pricing where we talk about binomial. Then we sort of get more into the Black-Scholes model, which sort of is the primary focus of this particular program. So we talk about the famous Black-Scholes model. We talk about different ways to get to the Black-Scholes model and the equivalence. How does it make sense? Why do we use these sort of models? What are sort of the assumptions behind using some of these models? We talk about option price sensitivities. We talk about option Greeks. We talk about difference of these Greeks. We talk about delta, gamma, theta, vega, and all of the different option Greeks that are there. We also devote a lot of time talking about volatility. We talk about volatility smile, local stochastic volatility models. We talk about not just European style option, we also talk about American style option, where we talk about early exercise features, barriers. We also talk about structured products, where we basically taken the next sort of step. We talk about designing and pricing of structured products. We also talk about the numeraire change toolkit. We talk about the LIBOR market model. In this context, so you see all of these, whatever we are talking about, in the present circumstances, there is also an application of AI and ML in that help us in pricing of these. So AI and ML is not different module, but something which sort of overlays through whatever we are covering. So wherever it is relevant, we are talking about the more recent uses of machine learning and artificial intelligence, pricing of certain of these products. In some cases, it may be more of a robustness study where these sort of products can be used. So we'll have some sort of a foundation of AI and ML, which would be required for pricing of these certain products. And as we talk about these products and their usage, we'll be talking about the traditional way of pricing. In some of these cases, we'll be also talking about how ML can help us in pricing of these in the current circumstances. So when we talk about machine learning methods in quantitative finance and option pricing, we talk about support vector machines, we talk about neural networks, we also talk about reinforcement learning slightly. Then we move on to risk management, which is again one of the core focus areas of this particular course. Within risk management, we think from more of a bank's point of view. We think about value at risk. We define what value at risk is, in what sort of situation VAR actually makes sense. We also talk about conditional value at risk with expected shortfall. Not just that, we also talk about other sort of tail measures. We talk about volatility models, we talk about guards, its relevant extensions. We also talk about volatility modeling that can be done in present days with some use of ML. In what sort of cases ML-based models can make more sense compared to traditional large class models, in what cases it doesn't really work. We also talk about probability of default, expected loss, credit risk. We go for deeper models of credit risk, where we talk about the Merton model, where we use the Moody's KVM model of credit risk also. Banks often are required to have, or the regulators often mandate that the banks go a more stricter measure of risk management, where they need to do back testing, stress testing. So we talk about all of these, what back testing is, what stress testing is, and risk management models. We also talk about counterparty risk, where we talk about CVA, DVA, and other adjustment associated with it.
Yeah, so this sort of covers broadly our content, and I think module 2 is the biggest. Module 2 is the biggest, and module 1 is about 20%, module 2 is about 50%, or 45-50%, and module 3 is about 30%. And as my colleague Anirban said, the last one is perhaps most interesting, relevant for people who are working in financial institutions and banks, because banks are required to follow RBI's regulations and global regulations around when you're selling certain kind of products. So the last one probably will not make sense to everybody, because this is only for people who are working in the bank or financial institutions or want to work in the bank. The second module is more about derivatives and options, and I guess all of you would know that how active options have become in the country. But we are not interested in options that are traded in the financial markets in NSE. We're interested in more complex, exotic options that are not traded in exchange but are more designed for certain kind of needs. And that's what broadly the program is about. I'll just add, before we open for question, that the job market exists at a variety of levels here, at front office, middle office, and the back office. So all kinds of roles can benefit from training like this. And I guess some of you would know that both JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs in India have a very large middle office, back office center in India. Goldman Sachs has a big one in Bangalore, and Morgan Stanley has a big one, and Deutsche Bank have big ones in mostly in Mumbai. And they are big recruiters, some of the biggest recruiters in the country, with people with skills like this at all points, at all entry points. At the front office, helping the traders in the machine learning side and option trading side, where Greeks are important, and in the middle office to do risk management and pricing of derivatives, and in the back office to do accounting and control for derivatives. So even if somebody is not using mathematics, even if you're working in the back office, these skills are relevant to even understand what the middle office is doing. Front office, of course, roles are not as many in India because RBI doesn't permit many derivative contracts to be traded in the country. But many of these, KPOs like Goldman's and Morgan and Deutsche's, they are present, and often when people get hired from good places, they end up supporting those roles in the US and Europe. That's why these roles become quite lucrative as a career opportunity. But yeah, some of this is not perhaps that directly relevant to India because of RBI's regulation. But job market still exists in India because of big KPO KPO is hiring in this. To add anything?
No, I think now we can take
Yeah, so we can open for Q&As and yeah.
Before we open up for the Q&A session, should I share the details of the program?
Absolutely.
For a couple of minutes?
Yeah, you can,
sure.
you can, yeah.
Yes, I hope my screen is visible to everybody.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, we can see it.
Thank you so much for the confirmation. Yes. So before we open up for Q&A, I would like to take you through some of the basic information about the program that we were discussing. APQFRM, the Advanced Program in Quantitative Finance and Risk Management. The duration of the program is about 8 to 9 months. And to be eligible for joining the program, you need to be either a graduate or a postgraduate with more than 50% aggregate marks. And you should have relevant work experience, and you can also be a final year candidate of a 4 years graduate degree program in the subjects of engineering, mathematics, physics, and computer science. The mode of delivery would be D2D mode, definitely direct to your device. So you have the ability of you have the option of accessing the classes from the comfort of your home or your office, wherever you might be joining from. But there would be additional campus immersion as well during the course of the program. You will have to visit the campus, and you can interact with our faculty members and enjoy the environment of IIM Ahmedabad, as professors were mentioning earlier. The campus module would be 2 days at the start of the program, and again another 2 days towards the end of the program. That would have the presentations, the examinations consisting of the presentations, and also the certification ceremony. The attendance in both the campus components would be mandatory for you to complete the program and be awarded with the certification. The sessions are scheduled on every Saturday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., which is quite convenient for working professionals. And as I mentioned, you would be getting a certificate from IIM Ahmedabad on the successful completion of the program with your examinations, the campus immersion, and all the classes that you would be attending. The fee for the program is 4 lakh rupees plus 18% GST. It can be payable in 2 installments. And to apply for the program, you will have to pay an application fee of 2,000 rupees plus 18% GST. I will move on to some other details about the program itself. So just a moment. Yeah. The technical orientation for the program is scheduled in the first week of August, and we have about a month's time approximately in hand for the applications to close for joining this cohort. It is closing on the 18th of July, that is next month, 18th July 2026. Your first campus is scheduled to commence from the 11th of August. It is for 2 days, as I mentioned earlier, 11th and 12th of August. And your course will be completing somewhere in the month of April 2027, with the last campus, which is scheduled on the 16th and the 17th of April. I will move on and share some contact details. Somak would request you to please share these in the chat box as well for the benefit of our participants today. You can also note them down. You can reach out to us on this email ID and these contact numbers. However, in addition to this, all of you who have joined us today, you will be contacted by us with proper information about the program and other details. Thank you so much. So I will stop my screen share and we will take up the queries one by one. We have a couple of them in the chat
So
box.
before you, I would just add that because it gives certificate of completion, that means there's going to be exams in every module that you have to pass to get the certificate. Unless you pass the exams, and all exams, one exam I think is individual, but 2 exams happen like a group project, or I think 2 exams are individual,
Yeah.
one is a group project, the third one is a group project. For you to get the certificate, you must meet the program requirement in terms of meeting the academic, like in any college. You have to pass these courses in a certain way to be eligible to get the certificate. And that means we expect certain effort even as you are doing this program like a student. And the program is demanding. That's why you would have noticed that it was mentioned that you need to have good mathematical training in your school. We will not accept anybody who doesn't have mathematical, doesn't have done mathematics since till class 12. That is very clear. Unless you can illustrate that if you skip math after class 10, that you've done something else to make up for it. then we'll accept those applications. But our minimal requirement is that everybody in the program should have finished up to mathematics up to class 12. If you've done undergrad also from a good college with quantitative techniques being heavy in those programs, that's a bonus. But at least we require that everybody has up to class 12 mathematics. Otherwise, many of the things that we cover in the program, unfortunately, will not make too much sense without having requisite mathematical abilities. So that is a must. So please do not send any question that you only class 10, you have maths only class 10. The default answer is no. We will not accept those people who only have mathematics till class 10. It may sound a bit unfair, but that's how it is in this field. This field does require significant abilities in terms of mathematics. And the preferred is not required, but preferred is that people have decent math in college also. That even though that's not a requirement is math practice.
Thank you, Professor. So I will take up a few of the questions that we have accumulated in the chat box. The first question that we have has been asked by somebody who is going by the name SR. I will just read out the questions to you. Question number 1, is this program suitable for prop traders or day traders doing futures and options in Indian markets?
So
I think it's best that we combine similar question, because otherwise there will be too many questions.
Or possibly I respond to this one because I thought there are a couple of more questions in similar sort of lines. So questions regarding trading. So this is not a course on trading. This is a course on understanding the products, pricing the products, right? Now, some of you who are interested in this particular domain can use the learning to set up your own trading firm or say trading strategies, whether you're doing it within a prop sort of a setup, or you want to do it as part of some sort of a financial institution in an agency sort of a setup, is completely left up to you. So the program focus is not on prop trading or agency trading. There are other sort of programs which focuses on that. I think I also saw some sort of a query where the question was, is it similar or different from an EPAD sort of a program from Quant Institute? So again, those programs are focused on the trading side of things. More than understanding the product, the focus would be on how to trade and how to automate your trading strategies. This program focus is not on that. The program focus is on derivatives, understanding derivatives, pricing of derivatives, because for derivatives, it is not just the market or exchange traded market that we observe. There is a huge, significantly larger OTC market which also exists, where we do not have any exchanges. So we will be focusing a lot on so exchange traded products are only one part of what we are discussing. There will be also a larger discussion around products which are not exchange traded. So again, the focus of the program is not on the trading side. Now, again, there may be people who can take the learnings from what we are discussing over here, and they can start their own trading firm or trading strategies. That's left up to them. The program doesn't focus on implementation or developing trading strategies, so to say.
Right. So actually, this person has a number of queries that he has placed in the chat box. So I will just take them up one by one. Some of them have been answered. Some of them I can answer myself so that we can quickly skip to the academic questions. Is a 10+2 science stream maths background along with an engineering degree, computer sciences enough for math prerequisites for this program? I believe the professors have already answered this query of yours. Are there any fixed number of seats and enrollments that can be accepted? We will be in touch with you for this. I think we do have seats available as of now for you. You can definitely apply and register yourself. Does this program require participants to stay on campus, or those staying in Ahmedabad can? It is advisable that you stay on campus, because otherwise you'll be missing out on a lot of, like, what should I say, peer-to-peer interactions, wallowing in the environment of the IIM Ahmedabad campus itself, which is a good thing to have, right, as an experience. That is what I would say. I'm quickly moving on to the next questions. Is this program more suitable for people already working in finance, or can professionals from computer sciences, AI, data science, and engineering backgrounds successfully transition into quantitative finance? Professor, I would leave this up to you. This question, I think.
Yeah, so in fact, if you notice, many people who work in this area are not from finance. They are mostly engineers or computer science graduates or math graduates. This is it's like a perfect match made in heaven almost to have. Finance is not very hard. Maths is somewhat harder. If you know your math well and don't know finance much, finance is easy to train in, but math skills take much longer time, school, college, and so on. So yeah, so you're perfectly fit for a program like this. In fact, many people who work, as I said, in this field are not from finance background, but they do very well nonetheless because the math is pretty strong and the coding side is pretty strong. So there is no issue. I thought just for one question, I just wanted that before we can took others. There's no placement support here. Let's be very clear. You want a job, you have to apply on your own. We believe that this program signals to the recruiter that you have done invested in yourself. So I think it will help you to change jobs. But IMA does not provide placement support for online programs or blended programs.
Thank you, Professor. And moving on to the next question. Before the program starts, do you recommend any specific topics in mathematics, statistics, probability, stochastic processes, or programming that participants should revise?
So I think for certain things, we would be reaching out to the participants if there is anything specific. But if they have done, again, so as we have been repeating sort of, we need participants to have done mathematics at the 10+2 level. So they should be familiar with concepts of calculus and all of those things. If some of them have done it significantly earlier, it has been quite some time, they may want to brush up some of these skills. If there is anything specific to the program that we think that the participants would be needing, we'd be reaching out to the participants before the program starts.
I think it's a good observation. Some people we see in this pool, I've noticed from the registration that are somewhat more experienced. Even though they may have done the engineering, it is possible that you might be rusty in some of the same concepts. So as my colleague is saying, please revise if you are relatively on the more experienced side. For those who are younger, of course, they may not have any issue. But yeah, it's good to always revise. And we'll again, for people who have joined the program, before we start the program, we'll send out detailed instructions to only those who have registered. Exactly what we expect when you join the program. We'll also give you a reading list and some recommendation perhaps also on which kind of videos you can watch, which kind of MOOC programs you can do on your own before you join the program. But that's only once you register. A week or two before you join the program, we'll send out one consolidated email around that via VCNow, and you can sort of prepare yourself accordingly. But yeah, it's a good suggestion, good point to have made that yes, good to revise what you did in your school and college.
I think there was also one concern regarding programming. This particular program would have elements of programming which is required. Now, some of it, it's not very advanced stuff which is sort of required. Again, as my colleague mentioned, when we reach out to the participants, we give them some suggested videos and things to look at so that they can pick up those skills. But in general, in this particular field of finance, definitely we use Excel, but Excel is not used a lot when you talk about quantitative finance. So then we use more programming languages. In most cases, we'll be using Python. So those who have worked with Python can sort of brush up. Those who have not, try to familiarize yourself with the basic sort of programming skills regarding Python. When we'll be doing these things in class, we'll be sharing codes, we'll be sharing notebooks, we'll be sharing all sorts of things that can help you. In some cases, most cases it will be Python. In some cases, in addition to Python, there may be some sort of R codes which are also shared. So all of those softwares are free, so you don't need to purchase any sort of software licenses as such. But if you are comfortable with these programming languages, it's great. If you are not, you can just go through certain videos that introduce you to the idea of.
But in today's world, programming is not a barrier anymore, right? So all the AI tools which churn out program in a jiffy, all that you need is to understand the program. So as my colleague said, it's worth spending time to learn some programming skills, but you don't have to do the old-fashioned way, take a textbook and do it like that. You can work with an AI tool, go to any of those open source websites which teach you about Python, and use AI tools along with it. And even free version of AI tools are good enough for those purposes. You don't need a paid version of AI tools for most things today. Just a simple version of Google Gemini or ChatGPT or Anthropic Cloud will take you very far in terms of what we need. We're not training programmers here. We need programming to understand some ideas quantitatively. Programming is not the main thing here, and programming really is not a big barrier. In fact, programming only comes in the second half of the course, right?
Yeah.
There's enough time, even after you join the program, it's about 3 months for you to pick up requisite programming skills, because all applications come in after maths is over. By and large, first quarter of the program, first couple of months only about mathematical abilities, about products, and main mathematical model for derivatives pricing. So programming comes in about 3 months into the program. So there is, even if you don't start, you don't have time to do right now before the program starts, you have time even after program starts.
And in many cases, when we are sharing, when we show something in class, the codes will be shared with you. And in many cases, we also explain the logic that is getting used. So even if you're not proficient with this or not very sort of used to coding, you can pick it up quite easily.
It's not very hard.
It's
Today,
not very
programming is hardly an issue. I think there's one question about roles in quantitative finance. I mentioned earlier, one role is one which is mostly about testing pricing models. So, as my colleague mentioned, that a lot of interest in this field is not about exchange traded derivatives like option, regular call and put options. There's also a huge market for structured products and customized over-the-counter products. Those require a fair bit of mathematics to price. So often quants price those using advanced mathematical models, and some of the quant work is done at these KPOs in India, and some of those testing of those models is also done in India. So a big chunk of this role on derivative side is testing of the pricing models and looking at the assumption behind those models. And that is often a big role that both on the trading side and the structuring side, as well as on the risk management side, the testing of pricing models, the math that goes behind it, assumption made to price the product are quite important. And thus, this program will make you ready for those roles. In addition, as my colleague mentioned earlier, there's also a big chunk of curriculum on risk management, which is mostly relevant for banks, not as much for KPOs, even though KPOs also have divisions which support risk management activities like market risk and credit risk. So there are a lot of jobs available in doing risk management analytics, which is about how much money to keep aside based on RBI's regulation. And today's regulations are quite quantitative. And again, if you look up these Basel norms on risk management, that document for Basel norms runs to more than 1,000 pages today. And much of the documentation is quite mathematical. So even to make sense of the regulation that exists today, after financial crisis of 2008, you need to know a lot of techniques and methods that we cover in this course. So even to apply for a program like this, and there's some overlap there with FRM. So I see some people are doing FRM. I noticed that someone mentioned that. So there's some overlap with FRM, but in terms of mathematics, we somewhat go deeper compared to FRM also. And we do, of course, a lot more than what FRM covers, that FRM certification covers. So the main two sources of roles are testing pricing models in what is called model risk or pricing analytics, and other side is risk management. And there are two main roles there, market risk and credit risk. And both KPOs and Indian banks are required to have. I think somebody mentioned somebody's working in a bank. So within a bank, the only place where your banking is relevant is risk management. If you're looking at other activities of the bank, this program is not for you. And this program is only relevant if you're interested in the risk management side of banking, as per RBI regulation.
Thank you, Professor. So I'm taking up a couple of more questions which have come up. We have a number of them in the chat box. How does it signify from venture capital and private equity? How much impact it will have on one's portfolio? This, I believe we have already addressed.
So no connection there. No connection there. If you're interested in VCPE, we have another program at IIMA. I think our own colleagues offer that program. You can look up IIMA website and you can register for that program. As my colleague mentioned, we have programs in all elements of finance today. This is one very focused program on quantitative finance and risk management, derivatives and market risk and credit risk. But if you want to do VCP, we have a program. If you want to do purely risk management only in a more detailed way, we have a program for that. If you want to do personal risk management, we have a program for that. So you take your pick, but if you want to do those things, this is not the right program for that. This program is solely dedicated to quantitative finance applied to derivatives and risk management.
Moving on to the next question. What in AI ML is taught? Are there any deep dives into Gen AI and agentic AI applications? Also, as you mentioned, database, which ones are taught? Bloomberg, LSEG, Refinitiv, and similar databases? This is a question.
So as I mentioned, so agentic AI in this particular context won't be meaningful. So what we cover is, as I mentioned during the slides, we talk about certain sort of bit of reinforcement learning. Again, all of these are based on applications in certain type of derivative pricing. So we'll have some basic sort of a course, basic sort of a introduction to AI and ML that would be relevant for this. But again, the focus of this particular program is not on AI and ML. We'll be only talk about areas where machine learning sort of improves our understanding of the pricing models or can help us in decision making in certain cases related to risk management. Right. So it's more of application oriented rather than a program on AI and ML.
So agentic AI, banks don't use it. Very clear. Banks are not allowed to deal with the putting client data into or deal data into AI too. That's completely out of the question, even given today's regulation. So you can forget about it in this field in marketing and consumer behavior. Yes, a lot of agentic AI is used, and automating processes backend, agentic AI is used. But in this field in banking, given the strong hand of regulators like RBI, there's no way agentic AI is going to get used in the near future. Because everybody is very conservative when it comes to client data. And European and American markets are regulators are even more conservative than Indian regulators. So that is off the question. One can use AI tools to automate programming side of things. So that one can use. If we have a bunch of derivatives to price in a similar mathematical model, you can create an agent for that. But that's it. That is at a prototype level. One can design software based on that. That's for internal use only. But no way that any bank is going to be allowed to use client data or deal data to pass to OpenAI or Anthropic. That is out of the question currently. We'll see how time evolves. But right now, there is no question of agentic AI is not even possible here for most business reasons. Again, for experimental work and research-based purposes, we'll spend some time in the use of AI tools. Our colleague, who's an expert on machine learning and AI, we'll have him on and he'll tell you a lot about how meaningfully one can use AI tools for automating tasks, but only tasks for which is simplifying in my programming work, but not beyond that.
Right. Moving on to the next question, we have a couple of individualized questions. Like we have one which says, I'm the one with wealth management experience of 10 years. How is this program helpful for me?
No, not helpful. Please, we have a program on wealth management. My colleague and I do that in a different setting, which is a physical program, not online program. You are encouraged to look at that program up on IIM website. It's a shorter program, just 4 days, 4 or 5 days, and you're encouraged to look at that program. But this program is not going to be relevant for you. Do not sort of
unless you're planning to switch careers.
Unless you want to plan to switch. We are happy to have you pay us money, but please don't spend money on this program. Other programs at IIM that you can consider. Jokes
Right.
apart. Yeah.
Right. So the next question says, should APQFRM course be done after FRM?
So I think that's a decision left up to the individual. But as we mentioned, there would be certain sort of overlaps between the what FRM curriculum mandates and what we are covering. The participants is we would encourage you to go through what our curriculum is and find out what are the things that you want to learn. Based on that, it's a decision that the individual has to decide.
There is some overlap there.
There is some overlap, but it would be more on the risk management side.
So only module 3, because
Only module
FRM
3.
is just module 3. And
Correct.
we, of course, that is only 1/3 of our program, roughly. We do a lot more. If you're interested in other areas of finance also, which goes beyond what FRM covers, we would recommend it. But as my colleague said, best left to the candidate to figure it out. But we do perhaps more maths than FRM does.
Yes.
There is clearly, our program is somewhat more technical and mathematically sophisticated compared to the FRM program.
The next question also tries to compare this program with something else as well. It mentions, how would you compare this program with the CQF by Paul Wilmot in terms of content, difficulty, and career outcomes?
That's similar actually. If you can afford it, that's probably, you can recommend that you can compare the two. You can do either actually. But CQF, what we understand, is far more expensive. It's a good program. We have seen the curriculum, so no bad thing to say about the program. So it's left up to you. I think the program length is different from what I remember. Again, I don't remember right now top of my head, but you can compare the program length, but it's somewhat price in pounds, so somewhat. But again, equally good program. So no bad thing to say about the program. And pretty capable people like Paul Wilmot. In fact, we use some of his papers also in our program to talk. He is, of course, a very well-known guy in the field. He and his friends in London. But again, the price point is only difference, and I think our curriculum is similar. Even though our curriculum is somewhat more adapted to Indian recruiters, being KPOs, that curriculum is more adapted to the London market. So if you're considering London market or European markets to work in, probably that program is better. and we would recommend that program if you want to particularly work in that market. But if you're interested to work in Indian market, both programs are equally good. So again, as I said, nothing bad to say about it. Pretty good program too. But yeah, somewhat more expensive compared to our IME's price point. I think it's about 13,000 pounds if I'm not wrong. So about three or four times more of our price point. But again, as I said, pretty good program. Yeah.
We have a question by Sam who mentions, can we briefly talk about module 2 in depth, please? Thank you.
There's another hand being raised there for a long time by Rai Rampatre. You want to come in and ask your question?
Yes, Mr. Rai Ramapatre, you can unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Okay, maybe he's not listening to us right now. Yeah, so again, the module 2 is a lot about derivatives and pricing of it. There's a whole lot of mathematical toolkit that goes beyond it. So broadly speaking, module 2 is about stochastic calculus in finance applied to option pricing. And the most famous model is there is Black-Scholes model. That was Nobel Prize winning formula. So we actually proved the formula in a class like ours. Even many popular textbooks will not prove the formula. We prove it multiple ways. That's how deep we go in terms of pricing methodology and its application. Again, as my colleague mentioned, we also go about extensions of Black-Scholes model, the most famous model in terms of volatility smile. And there are three or four most popular variant extensions in terms of Dupont local volatility and Heston stochastic volatility model. And we go into the mathematical depth of both of them. And we also applied them using Python programming. So we go fair distance than what a typical MBA course on derivatives pricing will go in. But that's perhaps a good short answer to your question. And this is a long time. And we also spend time on beyond call and put options on equity products. We also spend time on foreign currency options and interest rate derivatives, which is somewhat harder part of finance. We don't have that much space, unfortunately, in a 6-month program, but we also spend a fair bit of time on, or perhaps decent time on, interest rate derivatives and their pricing. That really is the cutting edge or the more demanding side of derivatives pricing, and we sort of spend reasonable time on that too. So maths of derivatives pricing across asset classes, equity, foreign currency, and interest rates.
Right. So the next question says, should the course be done in the 4th year of BSc Maths Honors, or should we do it after a few years of working?
The latter is recommended. Work for a little bit, see the world, make some money, and then do a program like this. But if you're in a hurry, if you want to signal to recruiter that you are good enough to get in the job market, then you can do this program. But if you already have a job offer, then maybe spend some time in the job market, 1 or 2 years, then join since you're making some money. But if you're looking for a job and you're ending your 4th year, then and you're keen to signal to the recruiters or HR professionals that you're ready for a job market, we can do the program then.
Right. I'll move on to the next question asked by Surya Iyer. He mentions, will the EPAT course offered by Quantitative be complementary to do along with this program?
I think I talked about that earlier. That particular program would be, as per my understanding, that particular program would be much more focused on the trading side of things. So if the focus of the individual is to develop trading strategies to be implemented in an algorithmic sort of a setup, that would be the focus program. Now I'm certain that they would be also talking about different sort of products where they can implement the strategies. Again, this particular program doesn't really focus on the same sort of areas. It is not a program on trading. Now, so it depends on the choice of the individual. If the focus is on trading or developing trading strategies, doing algorithmic trading, please go ahead and look for programs on trading like the EPAT program. But if the understanding of or the focus is on understanding of quantitative finance, derivative pricing, risk management, I think our program is very different from that EPAT program.
Yeah, somebody said that is it similar to MFE and MS Math? Yeah, it's a subset of that. It's a relevant point. And MFE, MS in Math or financial mathematics with 1 year, 1.5 years is. Yeah, so I think perhaps if somebody wants to do an MS in mathematical finance, this program is a good starting ground to see if you're fit for that. And of course, you learn a lot more than just figuring out the fitness. But if you're really keen to go and work in Wall Street in New York, then before spending that 1-2 crore rupees, because those programs are quite expensive, then it's a good testing ground to see whether you're fit mathematical training as well as, and of course you learn a lot in the process too. But yeah, your point is valid.
Right.
So IMB, somebody asked about IMB. So IMB shamelessly copied our name, and the program hasn't begun yet, so we can't say anything about it. So unless the first batch is over, only then we would know if their imitation of our program is any good. But right now we've only seen the brochure, so we can't say too much beyond that.
The next question is, are the online sessions and content available globally? For example, if someone travels to the US, can the person join from US?
They can join live.
Yeah, I guess
even if
it's left to VCNow. I guess we are okay. I mean, if you can join in a different time zone, VCNow doesn't have any issue with Zoom link, then of course, yeah, no issues there. From our side, no issues. You only have to wake up at ungodly hours, but otherwise, yeah, you can. From our side, no issues. But VCNow, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Professor. Yeah, you were saying.
No, nothing. So as technology, if technology partner says it's okay for us. It's fine. Sorry.
But you will have to be at the campus during the campus immersion.
That of course is required.
Yes.
But there are only two of them at the beginning and at the
just
end.
4 days. Yeah,
4 days.
And if you're in the US, and you can join online at whatever, 3 p.m. here, whatever it means.
Based on where you
depending on Eastern time zone or Western one where you are, and
yes. Okay, I'm moving on to the next questions. I am already pursuing actuarial science. Will this program help me to open doors for advanced risk management roles, which are modeling heavy? Thanks.
So again, I don't think there is a lot of overlap between what you are doing versus what we are covering in this particular program. So it depends on where you want to move in your particular career. If the focus is or interest is in quantitative finance, this particular program may make sense. But if you plan to work in the field of actuarial sciences, I think this particular program may not be adding a lot of value.
But there is some commonality there. I've seen the actuarial science curriculum. They do cover Black-Scholes also, but I think our curriculum goes somewhat deeper without trying to brag about it. It's true. I've seen the curriculums. But yeah, not all of that is all about actuarial science here. There's only limited commonality. I think Merton model is relevant because probability of default is linked to likelihood of death and so on. So insurance companies use similar models for figuring out the insurance premium, like a Merton model for probability of default. But other than that, not that much common. But you can complement if you're interested.
Yeah.
Anshaj asks a query which mentions that what are some of the non-trading roles?
I think you mentioned that, right? On derivatives pricing, model analytics, pricing, risk management. That's the main one.
Yes. I am currently working in PSB. How is this program going to enhance my career in banking industry?
So again, I think if you plan to remain within banking and want to move into risk management sort of roles, this program may be relevant. Or if you're planning to transition to more of quantitative finance roles and you plan to apply, this sort of program can help you learn some of the topics where then you can showcase your skills to find a good job for you. But if you plan to remain within the banking sort of a setup, then you'd like to transition to roles related to risk management, because that is the only overlap we have between what you're doing now versus what we offer in this.
So module 3 is the only relevant one for you then if you're working in a PSP. I think we had a couple of people from PSP in our previous batch. And I think they got a lot out of the program, particularly in the machine learning side. So even if you're not really working only in risk management, you want to look at credit scoring and that market, even then this program works. But yeah, half of the program may not be that relevant for you unless you're interested to learn those skills in a certain way.
Right. So Renuka has a question, the first part of which has already been answered. However, I'm repeating the question. Can you please elaborate on the different roles in the industry in finance and quantitative finance? We have, I believe professors have already addressed that earlier during today's interaction. And the second part of the question is, how does an early career professional align their interests with limited exposure? Professors, would you like to throw some light on the second aspect?
So this program is not as much about the exposure. We do give exposure about different products in market. This program is more on the skills side. And if you can signal to the recruiters that if you want to work in this area, that you've got the right skills in terms of mathematics, programming, and product knowledge, and derivative pricing models. Then when you enter the job market, you get the exposure in that narrow field that you join in. But we also provide some exposure, but the focus here is less perspective, more depth. So less breadth, more depth in terms of the mathematics of pricing and risk management. And if you are keen to apply your mathematical skills or engineering mathematics skills, and you want to learn and go beyond that, this program might be a good fit for you. Again, if you're interested to work in this field of derivatives pricing, risk management, working in, again, most the young ones who are in college and looking for or engineering college or maths college, you will typically end up in a KPO mostly, not in Indian bank. Indian banks recruit in a different way, for good or and for worse. But so the main job market for you is why KPOs, and there are many KPOs in India. I mentioned the big ones of Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs, but there's no dearth of KPOs in India with small boutique firms working out of London and New York and Singapore and Hong Kong. So there's no dearth of job market. Many of our IIM alumni are also working in those fields, and they recruit via, again, HR consultants, not directly. So you have to know that route out, and over time one learns how to navigate that HR consultants route. But once your CV is there with HR consultants with the right skill set, then you are in that game. Then you are potentially a fish to be caught in that net. But again, having some skill set and signaling with a program like this definitely will help if you want to work in this.
We also have participants from those KPOs in India.
Yeah, we do have. We even had participants from a couple of very young people also in the batch, right? And
there are also people from some of these well-known KPOs who are also attending the program in the last.
So we have. So So again, I only mentioned the big names, more popular names, but there is no dearth of individuals, and many of them came to our program also. Yeah. In mid-career stage, 8 years experience, 10 years experience. But we also had 3-4 people, I think, which were completely freshers, who were keen to get into this job market and signal. And one of them actually said that she wanted to test this program before she wants to go for an MS in financial engineering in the US, which is far more costly. We want to see that she's a fit for this kind of a career. And she found that, yeah, she is. And she is now keen to fill her application forms and go and try to go to the US. So yeah, there are all kinds of different aspirations that we have seen in the first batch, at least, which have made people attracted to a program like this.
Right. So, Professor, we have had a couple of queries from Ankur Sharma with relation to his background and his previous qualification. I'll just read that out to you. One of the questions that he had. I have done a business finance program from IMA earlier. I am in aerospace. Advisable to move to quant side, approached by a hedge fund based on my participation in a quants competition. My 19 years profile has been totally different. It has been an innovation in precision manufacturing and project management. I pivot in the next 7 to 8 months. I'm also aligned towards an EPGP from IIM Indore coming ahead next year. Would you like to comment on this?
Well, hard to say. You're so well experienced. Hard to tell somebody, give any advice at that career stage. This is not a cheap program. This program is about 4 lakh plus taxes, so by no means inexpensive program. And you're already considering an IIM Indore, online MBA. So yeah, that will not fit in very well with this program. Let's be honest. So you can, once you finish that program and you want to still work in that field, then maybe yes. So it depends on how you're seeing it. If you're seeing just purely education, anything is fine, right? If you're looking at career point of view, then you make your choice. If your career, looking at a career based on IIM Indore, good program and MBA from there, and you may have career prospects based on that, but that will be a different career compared to a career coming out of APQFRM. And again, this is somewhat shorter program, right? Compared to 2-year MBA, I'm guessing, in EPGP from IIM Indore. So I guess make up your mind, perhaps. So we can sort of, and you're experienced enough in your life. But if you want to just learn some new things, yes, you're welcome to apply and you have a good profile. But yeah, I think best that you figure it out a little bit.
Because all of the things are very different sort of things. You have experience in aerospace, you've done a business finance program, you're thinking about a career in hedge funds. So yeah, there is a sort of not a natural fit into quantitative finance, but if you plan to transition to quantitative finance, rather than pursue,
or if you want to just learn, that's also fine. But I guess it's figure out the priorities a little bit. That might be, I guess, useful and helpful for you. I think, yeah.
So Ankur is mentioning that it's a 1-year EPGP from IIM Indore. So he just send
Yeah,
the
again,
message?
depends on what's your motivation for both the programs. If it's education or career. If it's just education, perfectly fine. You do both the programs. It might get hectic for you, but if it's you have a career change in mind, and then decide accordingly. And we are no judge of that. Your best left to you. But your profile is pretty good for applying. Let's put it very clearly. There's no doubt about your fit in the program.
Right. And I have another query from SR. He mentions how many hours per week would be spent outside the live classes on assignments, projects, and self-study. If you could help with that approximation.
Quite a bit, I would think, depending on your math background. If you haven't had done too much math, you need to study well to pass the exam. And I'm not kidding about it. It requires significant investment in terms of time beyond the classroom hours. You need to do well in the program and to get the most out of the program. It's not something that you can sleepwalk through it. This is not one of those programs. Let's be clear about that. You'll have to spend a reasonable amount of time before you come to the class and after the class is over. And again, a lot depends on your own background. If your background is pretty strong in maths and so on, okay, you may not have to spend as much time. But if your background is not as strong in maths, you'll find yourself playing catch up often. That means spending more time in terms of preparing and getting the most out of it. So a lot depends on where you stand in terms of current knowledge. Yeah.
So I think for any sort of programs that we run, for each 1 hour of instruction, we typically take a thumb rule that you need to spend around 3 times of that based on for preparation. So if you consider that we are going to have 2.5 hours, 3 hours of lectures every week, you can sort of do the math and figure out how much of self preparation you need to do.
And depending on your background.
Yes,
it's not a general management program where one says that.
Yes,
but if your math background is not was many years ago, like somebody said 19 years ago, then you may have to spend more time brushing up your math ability. And yeah.
Yes, so professors, more or less, I have covered all the queries that were accumulated in the chat box. We have, I think, 2 more left. I'll just quickly run through them. So SR once again has a question. SR, thank you for coming up with so many queries. I would say that is appreciable. So you have a question which mentions, can we provide additional math-based MOOC certifications from Coursera with certificates to prove math proficiency? So while I would allow the professors to comment on this, I mean, it is very clear from the discussion that what we are aiming at is completely different. Professors, would you like to add your comments to this?
Yeah, so 12th maths is required unless
Yes.
unless you can show us paid certificate. The ones where you actually get the certificate by paying the money to Coursera, then we can willing to look at that. That's fine. Yeah. If you haven't done maths in 11th and 12th, and you can look at the same curriculum as it typically used in Indian CBSE board or ICSE board, and you take a look at the curriculum, do the relevant math courses via Coursera, then it's fine, no issues. But you got to get not just the certificate of participation, the completion certificate from Coursera that you've done all the quizzes and exams and assignments in Coursera, and pay a certificate for that. They got to pay fees for that. Do that, and then you can send to VCNow. Perfectly fine. No issues about that.
And there are some queries regarding the alumni status also.
So we do 16 days here, and you do one more program for 5 days. You're done. You become an alumni. As I said, a program is 64 sessions, 16 days worth of engagement with IMA. If you want to become a proper alumni, IMA rules, we don't set those rules, but IMA rules are that 21 days you got to be engaged.
People are already aware of it because
so you do 16 days this, and whatever other programs, like my colleague has other programs, perhaps machine learning side, analytics side, and also we have some program wealth management or VCNP. Do other program that might interest you, and you have 5 more days, and you're done. You're proper alumni of IMA. But this program only takes you about 80%. 80% of that, 20% you still got to do, that's fine. You can you can do other programs of IMA. Any relevant program, any program is fine. Then you're proper alumni of IMA based on the current rules. Yeah, Srihari, yes. You're a reasonably good fit for the program, working in credit rating as an associate. You're quite a good fit for a program, especially module 3, and part of module 2. You'll benefit from the program.
Yes, with this, I believe we have covered all the queries that we had in the chat box, and we are also a little beyond our webinar scheduled time. Thank you so much, professors, for actually being here, because we had a couple of queries which had been accumulating in the chat box, quite a lot of them. And yeah, Ankur, so we will be in touch with all of you, Ankur and the others who had queries in the chat box, and all the participants. Our team would be in touch with you, and for the further queries that you may have, we would be interacting with you on a one-on-one basis. You would also be getting an email from us with further details about the discussions that we had today by way of some information that will be shared over an email with you. And we have shared the contact details as well with you earlier in today's session. So feel free to reach out to us as well. Professors, before we conclude for this evening, would you like to share a few words of
Well, we look forward to having as many of you as possible in this program. Many of you seem quite interested. So yeah, we look forward to getting your application and taking a look at them. But thank you for participating, and appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time, professors, and for extending your webinar availability for this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you. And
Thank
all
you
the participants.
Thank you
for
you too for doing such a good job of anchoring. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you so much. And all of you have a great evening ahead, and all the participants wish you the best of luck. We will be in touch with you for any queries that you may have. And you also have a great evening ahead. Thank you.